the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abasti. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. I'm laughing at myself because I feel like I click record before I'm like actually ready. And it reminds me of a quick story. My husband and I were watching TV. Actually, it was after my stroke. So he was watching TV and I was facing the other direction, facing the wall. And the commercial ended and the newscaster came on, but she didn't know she was on yet, like that the cameras were rolling. And she like was trying to hook her microphone to her shirt and she couldn't get it on. And she slammed it on the table and she said the F word. And then she said, hi, and then just like started her newscast. And my husband was like, what just happened? So he rewinded it and I looked at I looked at the TV and saw what had happened and it was hilarious. It was hilarious. So we have a nickname for her now, and I can't remember what the nickname is. It's like Potty Mouth or something like that. But she's on one of the popular news stations, and yeah, she has a big fat potty mouth. So now when I see her smile, I'm like, "You're a nasty woman." Okay. Anyway, today I'm going to be talking about the intersection of what I call mental unwellness and alcoholism. So I didn't want to say mental illness because I'm not talking about your diagnosed mental illnesses. What I'm talking about is this obsessive, you know, unwellness, these thoughts that we say to ourselves when nobody can hear us and how unhealthy it is. You know what? I'm going to turn this light off today because my eyes are really hurting me. So it's going to be a little darker. Sorry. Um, but that was like really bothering me today. So, okay. And we can do whatever we want here, right? So, all right. I'm going to discuss a little bit about mental unwellness and alcoholism and the importance of humility and open mind and how these qualities can lead us to faith and sanity in recovery. So I heard somebody, okay, first of all, sanity is something that when I first came into the program, they were talking about, I think it's step 2 is like came to believe in a power greater than ourselves would restore us to sanity. And I thought, I'm not insane. Well, I think that, yeah, maybe I was doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So I guess I was insane. And so insanity is something that I had to start looking at, like, okay, maybe like having an open mind and being like, maybe I'm not as brilliant as I thought I was. Maybe I don't have my shit together, if you will. I try not to curse, but sometimes there's just no other way. Okay, so I heard someone say this morning that you can be too smart for the program, but you can't be too stupid. And at first, when I heard him say this, I kind of like chuckled for a second, but then I thought, yeah, you know what? I have seen a lot of folks come in and leave the program because they think they're too smart for the program. And I'm going to venture to say that we are all kind of idiots when we come in. And I mean that in the kindest way. We don't know how to live. We don't know how to fix our problem. If we do know how to fix our problem, which is to stop drinking, we can't. So um let's unpack a little bit what this means. So intellectuals, those who pride themselves on their intelligence, often struggle with the concept of faith and the principles of recovery. And I want to talk a little bit about how I overcame this. And I by no means am trying to liken myself to some brilliant person by saying an intellectual, but people that try to think themselves out of every problem, right? These are the ones that feel like the answer is always inside of us. The answer is never outside of us. Um, these people may overthink or analyze every aspect of everything and try to rationalize how to get themselves out of a situation, right? To try to rationalize their alcoholism and the path to and through recovery. However, true recovery really requires humility and an open mind. It's not something you can think your way out of because it's something that goes beyond your brain. It is actually, my favorite book that I talk about here, Under the Influence. Talks about how alcoholism impacts more than our brain. It's not willpower. It is truly our body is addicted. That sounds stupid. That I'm like, yeah, I have a brilliant thing to say right now. It's that we're addicted. But what I'm trying to say is like our cells down to the cellular level are dependent on this alcohol. And it's not something that we can just think our way out of. So being open to an idea that there is a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity simply means that I am not the end all be all. I don't have all the answers. I definitely don't have the answer to this problem. Um, it means reaching outside of ourselves for help. So I've seen many of these intellectuals drink again. I've also seen intellectuals stay dry, but never actually reach this next level of existence. And this next level of existence, once again, I'm not going to pretend like I know how to live better than anybody else, but what I have witnessed is that people who can't seem to welcome this idea of a higher power. And I'm not talking about God. I'm just talking about a higher power, something outside of yourself. It's like this next level of existence for me. I think it's like saying I'm gonna fall backward and I trust that I'm going to get caught. That kind of existence. That is faith. And it doesn't have to be in God. It's just something. It's freaking something. Something bigger than you. Something other than you. Something you can't see, but you can feel. That is faith. And every one of us, no matter how smart you think you are, has the ability to have faith in something that you can feel but not see. If you've ever loved someone, you have it. You have faith. Um, and I choose for my higher power to be everything outside of myself because all that matters is that I'm not in it. I'm not a part of my higher power. All the solutions to every issue that I face, um, the solutions are outside of me. And most likely I can find them in another person. And if I believe in God, then I may think that God speaks through other people. Everybody gets to think. That's what I love about my program is that we can think whatever we want, whatever works for us, whatever keeps us sober, whatever keeps us sane. So insanity and recovery is this topic that again we find ourselves talking about a lot in recovery, and we find ourselves sometimes, drinking or not, even after we're sober. I certainly, after uh, I've entered into sobriety, find myself still crazy, making up stories, creating false narratives to justify my behavior or my feelings. Sometimes we may justify someone else's behavior because we love them and we want to ignore maybe that they're not good for us. So there's lots of ways that we can make up these stories and continue to like expose ourselves to an environment or stuff happening in our lives that is just not well. It's not good for us. And this can be part of that mental unwellness that accompanies alcoholism. Some people in my program call it part of our ism or our isms, and recognizing this mental pattern and seeking help outside of yourself is a step towards breaking that mental unwellness that we've come to be so comfortable in, especially when we were drinking. Like, I just avoided having to deal with anything. So I would just, man, I was just trapped in my whole world was just right inside here, inside my skull. All of the answers I thought were in there, all of the problems were in there. I was existing just right inside this tiny little ball. um, and that's what I want to talk about some more in this episode is how once I was able to look outward and see that my higher power is not inside here, it's outside of here. That's when I was able to start feeling more sane because my purpose and my actions and everything were no longer. I mean, I can't say that I'm perfect at it, and I can't say no longer, but are attempting over time to start being directed outward and start being for the purpose of not just helping myself but helping others. Patience. Patience plays a significant role in breaking the mental unwellness patterns. What I'm going through today, no matter how challenging, can help somebody else tomorrow. This realization can provide comfort and motivation when we break out of our thought cycles. It encourages us to be gentle with ourselves rather than overly critical because it's hard, and we need to acknowledge that what we are standing up to is hard. Whatever that challenge is, it's hard, and we beat ourselves up so much. I was listening in my morning meeting this morning and I thought, um, as I listen to the shares, depending on my perspective on any given day, sometimes I'll listen to shares in my sobriety meetings and I think, gosh, we're so critical of ourselves. Um, we sometimes we'll sometimes I'll be in meetings and we'll talk about the solution. The whole meeting for an hour, we're talking about solutions. Sometimes I go into meetings and we've all got stuff we need to share that doesn't feel good. Um, and we want to be able to deal with it perfectly. We want to be able to practice the principles of the program in all of our affairs. And if we're not doing it perfectly, we recognize that we're not doing it perfectly and we talk about it. As long as we are able to look at it after the meeting and be like, okay, you know, um, I shared about what's been hard for me today. And maybe what I shared is going to help another person. But now it's time for me to get back to it, right? Recovery is not about perfection, it's about progress and understanding. I know that my screw ups and my hard stuff is going to be relayed to you on my podcast episode. And this gives me comfort and motivation to break out of my mental unwellness. Sometimes, the past 2 days really, I literally stand up and just start walking towards doing something different because I can tell that my thoughts are unhealthy. I have mental unwellness that I can almost taste, and I need to get up and break the cycle. Um, and I know that if I don't, it's just going to sit. It's just going to sit in me. It's not going to change. And then I have to tell on myself in the podcast in the evening. So this is a great exercise for me to be able to just share and be honest about when I have some mental unwellness happening. So this all leads to, for me, this pivotal concept in recovery about believing in a power greater than ourselves. So for many people that I've witnessed entering sobriety, going through months and months of sobriety, and not quite being able to commit to believing in a power greater than themselves. And then they drink again. Until they finally make the decision that, I'm just going to try it because doing it my way is not working. And that's when I notice that they don't relapse anymore. So this realization can serve as a real turning point for people. But for others, it can present a significant obstacle to progressing through the steps. It can keep people out of the program. And if people find another way to get sober that's not in the program, that is fantastic. Like, it's not the only way. AA is not the only way. I've been witness to lots of other fellowships and programs, and they're all great. It just works for me. The program AA works for me. So this concept can be challenging because it requires an entire shift in your perspective on life, really on your view of your own existence, moving away from a self-centered worldview to one that encompasses more of a broader, like, common good kind of outlook. And for me, it has helped me see that my life is not all about me. Um, it's about the greater good. And that is really strange to say out loud. because of course I would have thought that my life was all about me. Um, but I don't live well that way. I don't live well with my life being all about me. Um, by being able to focus on a greater good, by being able to let go of self-centeredness and embrace like a broader sense of purpose, I just seem to think in a healthier way instead of viewing my actions solely through the lens of personal benefit. Um, and I wouldn't say that I'm like extremely self-centered, but I think it's just natural as a human to think that way. And the more that I try to consider how I can contribute to the mental well-being of others, the happier I am, the more purpose I feel like I have. And this is what I mean by my higher power being everything outside of myself. This broader sense of purpose has positive implications for my sobriety, and it has started to trickle over into my stroke recovery. It helps me to deal with my feelings in a more positive way when I'm able to direct my solutions and my actions outward and and have interest in making a long-term impact on someone other than myself. By focusing on how my actions can affect others, I find a new sense of motivation and accountability. This outward focus diminishes that obsessive self-focus and replaces replaces it with a sense of connection. And I I get a lot more out of what I'm doing when I'm doing it for myself and others. If it's like making a quilt, if it's, that's just a simple example, but I'm doing it because I enjoy it, but I'm also doing it because I want to give to others. And I have found, as I've been talking to my psychiatrist about this too, that the more that I can encompass both of those in my actions, the more fulfilling I feel on a daily basis. And I'm able to see when I don't do that, how negativity can grow inside of me. Like it's like a darkness that just grows, it's like mold, like it grows inside me, like it's dark and cold in there. Unless I open up and I share about it and shine the light on it, and then it goes away. So this this focus on sharing the benefits of my actions does not diminish my own needs because I'm sharing. You know, what I'm doing is not just for me. Doesn't mean that I'm not prioritizing my own needs, if that makes sense. It just is expanding my understanding of my place in the world. And I can better recognize that I'm a part of a larger community and that my actions can have a positive ripple effect beyond just my immediate circle, my life, my immediate circle, my family, my friends, um, that's really what I'm hoping this podcast does as well. And this realization is fostering a sense of responsibility. Um, I want to show up for this podcast because I want to have a greater positive ripple effect. It's funny because I have turned my stroke recovery and my vestibular therapy and even my sobriety into something of empowerment, and I want to contribute to something greater than myself. At a time when I am the lowest in my life, I am reaching further outside of me than I've ever reached. Um, so, in practical terms, I end up offering support to fellow recovering individuals. I've had lots of people reaching out to me, and that makes me feel not so self-centered. When people are asking me, can I talk to you about something that happened to me? I'm like, yes, yes, please, please talk to me about something that has happened to you because I don't want to think anymore about what has happened to me. And I'm more mindful and compassionate in my daily interactions with everybody. Um, and these actions, while seemingly small, because I don't really get to leave the house much anymore, I'm not really even going to the grocery store or anything like that. But the more that I'm consistent in these small actions, being with this intention that I'm talking about here, it creates a significant impact over time. So this really helps me stay grounded and focuses my recovery um, on having a purpose that transcends my individual struggles. Ultimately, coming to believe in a power greater than myself has been embracing humility and interconnectedness. Um, I the sooner I could recognize and connect with other people and know that I'm not alone in my recovery, in my stroke recovery. And yeah, it took me a while to find somebody who had the same um, symptoms as me, this whole vestibular thing. I mean, this took what, like 9 months? I think it was 9 months before I actually found somebody. And it was only through, you guys know, through like just working at it every day to try to find somebody, find something, especially without having the eyes to do it, the eyes to like look online and stuff. I think when I actually found this article about vision challenges related to vestibular disorders, I think I might have been using VoiceOver when I found that on my phone. So, anyway, it's it's by continuing to work hard to find fellowship and recognize that the more that I work at my own recovery and share about it, I can help to enhance other people's recovery and enrich my own. And this concept has been an absolute cornerstone of my recovery. It encourages me to move out of self-centeredness, which I unknowingly was living in my whole life. I really I had no idea how self-centered I was. I felt like I was a pretty nice person, but I was not really contributing to the greater good. like I feel like I am now. Again, I'm not perfect, but progress, not perfection. So thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Recovery Daily podcast. If you found this discussion helpful, please share it with others who might benefit. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I will talk to you tomorrow.